Hello and welcome to Enterprise Friday, reaching you from Enterprise Television. It's the magic that comes with eventually pressing the tape and being able to say, thank God it's Friday. I am Henry Ikwibike.
And I'm Shoma Okohe.
First off, we quickly race for the newspaper headlines while also asking that you join in the conversation all the way by subscribing to our pages here on YouTube and across all social media platforms at Enterprise TV 7. You may also like, follow, subscribe, and leave a comment. Our first story from the headline is this morning 600 killed in Burkina Faso, and we have it authoritatively here that up to 600 people were shot dead in a matter of hours by Al Qaeda linked militants in an August attack on a town in Burkina Faso, according to French government security assessment that nearly doubled the death toll cited in earlier reports. The new figure would make the assault in which civilians were shot dead as they dug trenches to defend the remote town of Basalohou, one of the deadliest single attack in Africa in recent decades. Cyril Abaku speak to us on this, especially as it concerns the pulling out of the Russian mercenary, and of course the French and Americans are no longer there. What is left of Ibrahim Traore?
Well, whatever is left of him will be up to him to decide, okay, eventually, because the report is still emerging. This is from French sources. I'm hoping that eventually we're able to establish what really happened. But of course, it appears now that the massacre actually did take place. That's what we're seeing, and on the scale it took place. It's funny because that this is making international headlines. In Nigeria, this number of people would have died in a week. I'm already so used to it. But you look at the Sahel countries, Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger and co. I think that we have celebrated a recalibration of the foreign policy towards Russia in return for what look like economic gains. But I think that the biggest threat yet in West Africa now is security or insecurity, as the case may be. So we need to now looking at how can the redirection of foreign policy bring security to the front burner. A lot of these world powers have real-time information on what's going on around the world. They're able to geomap even conflict zones, know who is going where. Imagine Israel was able to pinpoint Nasrallah's location. They took him out. They were able to penetrate deep into Iran. They planted a bomb that took out Haniyeh, okay, ostensibly with the support of the CIA. And of course, Russia also has equal or, just as good capacity for knowing what's going on around the world. So and even China also. So if they're able to have such information, can we, ask for what it is worth? The Burkina Faso attack by an Al Qaeda linked group.
Definitely.
How is it that nobody knew, nobody saw it coming?
No, it's been a recurrent issue. Remember, the reason Ibrahim Traore was successful in the coup was simply because of the same issue, the same Al Qaeda issue. That was why and how he got into power.
There's a reason. Yeah, so that's what there's a reason this particular story is making global headlines. There's a reason. There's a reason this report is on the front. Is on the front burner
now. Unfortunately,
yes, now
I should have occurred since August.
Yeah. So now the question is why? Okay, but I'm just saying that whether it's been on or this is or someone is trying to isolate this as an item in itself, it is not beyond what could have been quelled, what could have been stopped, what could have been. How can Burkina Faso's new partners help it develop capacity, okay, to predict, to forestall this sort of attacks? Because in the end, it is Africans who are paying the price for this sort of things. And mind you, it's a proxy war. There are those who will be happy to make Burkina Faso look bad. Say there's a coup now, you've turned attention from the West to Russia. So let's say Russia can protect you. Let's say Russia can make you, yes.
Okay, but why at this point, Captain Ibrahim haven't come out to even give any state?
No, a lot is going on in Burkina Faso. I mean, it's like saying why isn't the Nigerian president
now the citizens are looking up to him to at least hear from him, because now he instructed them to actually set this ditch up so that as to protect themselves. And most of them were out building the bridges that they would actually use to escape and protect themselves, and they came there to massacre them.
No. So let me just bring this in. We intended just to touch on this item, right? Whether killings took place or not, this is deliberately orchestrated propaganda against the Burkina Faso government. Plain. It's plain.
Oh.
You read through it, you can tell. But the point is that something can be done and has to be done. Okay. Burkina Faso needs to know what it is looking for in the world. You know what I mean? The Chadian president, before he died, Idriss Deby, was very successful because he partnered Israel. In the Middle East, people look at Israel as a pariah state. They don't want to do it. The Chadian president went out of his way to partner with Israel. It was Israeli intelligence he was using to, at the point he pushed Boko Haram out of this country. As a Nigeria, we've called them to that place. It was Nigeria that, honestly, a president went to the forefront.
That even led to his death, actually.
Yes,
eventually.
Pushed them out and said, Nigeria, we've done the job. Just go and finish them on. They didn't chase them into Nigerian territory and said, but we won't go farther than we have come. Nigeria, go and finish off the work. We followed our arms.
All right, so let's kick off our newspapers, of course, with the Vanguard. What's making rounds on the front pages here? We have a minimum wage. Despite as the federal government makes a selective payment, labor and reactions kick. Yeah.
Okay, on the top strip of the Vanguard newspaper, federal government denies anti-North blast in distribution of road project. Details are on page 32.
And also on the top strip of the same newspaper, Soludo is problem, not solution in Anambra, and that's coming from Okonkwo.
Okay. And that is there's another story from the federal government. We are voting more resources to fight terror, banditry. Details are on page 9.
All right, so let's maybe kickstart this conversation here. With,
I like the Soludo story.
Yeah, Soludo story, exactly. So let's look at it. Soludo is problem, not solution in Anambra.
On live TV yesterday, the interviewers and their guests were talking about Rivers State politics, I think. There's something, I think, breaking news came in. That the Labour Party caucus in the House of Reps.
House of Reps, State House.
We are miffed. We are not happy with the fact that Soludo was trying to create a law for joint account with local government and state. And I was like, the Supreme Court has ruled. The governors protested and reached a deal with Mr. President. I said that is not bad enough. Soludo, not just any governor, Soludo is now trying to create another law.
Well, according to a pundit who analyzed that story, he said that the State House has the jurisdiction to make laws against the Supreme Court as far as it works for the state as an independent sovereign.
No. But so what is but I mean, that could be the pundit's own point of view, okay? But there's a substantive Supreme Court ruling. By law, I mean, we know that in any country, you call it either Supreme Court, Constitutional Court in other countries, because they are the ones who interpret what the law says. Any law made by a state House of Assembly is subject to the Constitution, which is called the ground norm. And anything the Constitution says is actually subject to what any court says about it. I'll explain that. Then what any court says is subject to what the Supreme Court says. Here is how it goes. The Constitution says all Nigerians must be 18 years of age before they are allowed to do so and so. That's what the law says, right? And all of us are following it. That may not be what the law actually says. Now, that is an ex-cathedral pronouncement. That is what is written in the law without any court interpreting it yet. When you keep on saying 18, somebody says, let's go to court and seek interpretation. That's when you're going to know what the law really says. Maybe you begin at the Federal High Court or State High Court, as the case may be. Then the court says, it is 18, but subject to, our eyes are beginning to open. If the Supreme Court says 18 is not biological age, but psychological age, then we are in for a big. But again, we are going to obey what the Supreme Court has said. So it can no longer be 18 by the way you and I interpret 18 to be. Or it may be 18 in relation to the fact that 18 years is what Nigeria said is the year for an adult, okay? But that if anybody has already attained what makes him an adult elsewhere, and you know, I mean, it could just be anything. So that now we hear that which law says that if it is not the National Assembly, it says it can make a law that override what Supreme Court has said. Sometimes lawyers can say things that make their own points of view look acceptable and good.
It's actually a barbarist that actually says
no,
it.
Of course, I knew. So, but the point is that I don't think it is the right thing to do. Look, in politics, symbols matter. It's not even every time that we talk a law. So we are looking at how to disentangle ourselves from the unitary system that we call a federal system, and importantly, how to empower the local councils to function, because for many years they've been idle, they've been dormant. The Anambra said that Mr. Soludo is governor, Professor Soludo is governor. They've not held elections for councils in 10 years or more.
Even under Peter Obi.
They didn't hold elections.
Yeah.
They kept on having caretaker. And now, what Supreme Court has said is that if you will not hold elections for councils, you won't get allocation. Number two, again, is the fact that if this was a solution that was viable, why did the governors go and reach a deal with Mr. President? Why didn't they just assemble all of you? Let's make laws. Something is fishing, and I don't think that Mr. Soludo should be the one driving this sort of narrative that flies in the face of the federal principle. I don't think it is proper. Especially
knowing his take, over the years. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, let's get to the Guardian newspaper. The big story here from Nigerian teachers. Lured by passion, propelled by political class, broken system.
All right, and still on the Guardian newspaper, just below that, we have Tinubu submits tax reform bills to National Assembly, may rename FIRS.
Okay, moving on from ASIL, Nigeria in hopeless state. Situation worse than in 1984. Details are on page 7.
And also still on the bottom strip here, we have companies battle inflation, FX issues, lose 30% of share value in 9 months.
Okay, let's look at this big story. Lured by passion, propelled by political class, broken system. That is coming from teachers.
Yes, and actually there's a cartoon flick here.
Yeah.
And someone said politics is more lucrative.
And the person is seated in class.
Yeah, a student actually.
At this point, you're asked, what is the hope of the Nigerian education system if this is now seen as a narrative?
I frankly don't know. I don't know. The Nigerian school system is more broken than anybody can depict in a single news story, news report. It's terribly broken. Teachers are highly demotivated. Parents are increasingly asking whether education still has value. Frankly speaking, for those of us who know the value of education, maybe, but we are getting, even that group is getting thinner and thinner by the day. They are getting thinner and thinner. Parents, right, are even getting a lot more worried about how to pay school fees. And it's like when you manage to pay school fees, you've done everything there is to do. You know what I mean? Now, but typically teachers aren't even paid so much. Okay? They are supposed to be, the guy that said lured by passion is not lured, please. It is persuaded or motivated by passion, right, into teaching, which is fine, which is good. Or let's even say called into teaching. I'm a product of teachers who believed in their calling as teachers. Otherwise, I don't know where I would have been today. My mom and very good teachers who believed that something could come out, and they did everything they could to push me, even when it didn't look like I should be pushed. But that tribe is getting thinner and thinner by the day. Teachers are the best. They are the conveyor belt for a nation's values: contentment, simplicity, consistency, discipline, using few to achieve so much. Their pride is when they see their products become great. Actually, you know what I mean? But today, that whole thing has turned. You see, we grow up in places where your teachers believe that your parents haven't given birth to you. They also have to give birth to you in another sense. But a lot of these values they don't even have enough to teach you with. Today, the classroom, even when it is physical, should be digital also. But it's not there. Okay? And imagine your own teacher salaries. Teachers have to come to school during lesson time. They are peeling egusi. Then they tell the students to also peel egusi.
I go to the farm.
But don't you think this is, of course, we agree, our case is very peculiar. We have a broken system. We have inept, leaders who are, of course, not doing anything. But don't you think this is finally becoming an international consensus? In the United States, in America, for example, teachers are no longer interested in teaching because when they look at what they get as contested with what other people who are not teachers get, they get so not interested any longer. And this narrative by some billionaires, tech billionaires, that education is no longer the best way to become wealthy. You can just, common sense is what it takes.
Okay.
So how do you think that is not equally coming from there and spilling over?
Well, I'm glad you went to America. Let's even say our case study for now is Nigeria, right?
Yes.
Put Nigerian teachers in America in the American counterparts' shoes first. Let's see whether they'll be complaining. Because in a society where social infrastructure, where social security exists, okay, it's a lot different. It's a lot different. Education ought to be driven first of all by the philosophy of education, not by pay or anything for that matter. Okay. Again, in America, education is largely run from at the state level because it's a federal thing. It is in Nigeria that you have federal government wanting to put an eye in almost everything. So, but again, Nigerian teachers are peculiarly. Do we know that among the indices of development, the IMF, when they talk about countries that are in the global south largely who are underdeveloped, one of the indicators they use to judge how a country should come out of its doldrums is education. Because it is by education that you're able to create wealth. All the so-called tech billionaires who are saying use common sense, they don't use no common sense. They are educated, except that we are putting education and schooling on the same pedestal. They are not the same things. Okay. Somebody can go to school and still not be actually educated. But education is what you get for yourself after you've been schooled. So that's why at school, when they draw the curriculum, they add extracurricular activities. It is part of your education. In the universities, you see, universities should have wide expanse of land, greenery, flowers. It is all deliberate. It's not there because they have a lot of land. No.
So having the faculty of agriculture, engineering, all mixed together to have a community.
Yes, and then that expanse of land is to aid your thinking, because when your mind is calm and you can appreciate nature, your thought processes should be better. Our real problem is this: we are not tying our development to our education system. In America, it was American scholars that gave them the atomic bomb. American scholars are in Silicon Valley. I can give you names. American scholars are in Silicon Valley. Lled wrote the letter advising to Frank Roosevelt to create the atomic bomb. But he didn't sign it because he didn't have the stature. It was Einstein that signed that letter. That Oppenheimer and co. went to work. What are their names now? But I mean, the leading scientists from America gave America the nuclear bomb. Okay. In Nigeria today, look at Boko Haram. How a city that has a university with geologists is being submerged by floods. It's not even a travesty of reality. Our problem, like I said, is that we are not tied. We're not. The minister said the other time, school age is time to write WAEC and WANECO is 16. Let me tell you, in India, in America, almost every year there are 15, 14, 13, 19-year-olds that emerge as geniuses. How many geniuses I imagine from Nigerian schools? You get what I'm saying? Yeah. So that's the problem. We're not tying, as they say, the gown to the town. When gown and town are meeting properly, there'll be a lot of miracles happening. Even teachers who are not earning so much will be happy to see that they're producing, because the human spirit was designed for aspiration. Even if you're not making much out of it, but by seeing that what you're doing is linked to social change, it will make them happy. But it's not there. Classrooms, oh come on, waterlogged classrooms. Teachers have to go in rolling their pants and then standing on desks to be teaching students who are also standing. Imagine that we are using chalk to learn in classrooms on blackboards.
very so unfortunate. But Choma, I just asked, why do you think there's a dichotomy? You don't see the same things in private universities, in private schools, in Montessori schools that's privately owned. Why do you think this is?
The truth is, most times those schools already have systems and structures that provide for their teachers. But truth to be told, when you go close to some of the teachers, they still complain.
The privately owned
the
schools,
owned institutions, the teachers still complain, but not as passionately as
the public schools.
Teachers. That's the truth.
It's so very unfortunate. Covenant University still remains the best university in Nigeria, a privately owned university.
Sometimes most times you don't measure education and schooling. It's true that most of the schools in quotes might be tagged the best university, but most of these private school students cannot stand up to public school students.
Do you believe that?
No, but so I mean, at the risk of advertising, in the case of Covenant University, they are head and shoulders above the rest. I'll just give an example. Something should not be said. It's like national security. Nigerian, in my own field of study, a colleague of mine, I think he's a professor now in Australia, we are classmates, I think age mates too. He said that in their school in Australia, you dare not publish an article in an unlisted journal. There are journals that are, they're in grades. He said Nigerian professors, as you see them, I mean, none of them publish in any of the A-list journals. He said Covenant University was the only one measuring up. This was about 2 years ago. And that is, I mean, almost only because of Bishop Oyedepo. The way he personally invests in excellence. Otherwise, for the rest of them, I don't know how this discussion should not be held on national TV.
Well, I just sincerely hope, of course, those in authority,
just to wrap my thoughts on it, right? A system in which the average teacher is wishing just to escape from his job. So we need to now get him back to understand that there's pride in what he's doing, or that indeed he needs to be up. The one in Anambra, was it Imo State, that wrote a letter and said he was tired of teaching. Did you see the letter?
True.
That if he had gone to take a shop in the Navy,
it would have been far better for him. Well, that's the unfortunate situation we find ourselves. But at the same time, you see some UK institutions asking our teachers to come in their droves, which means, of course, they've got the potential to give. But unfortunately, the environment we find ourselves, of course, does not give them such opportunity. Thank you so much, Cyril Abaku, for being part of
my pleasure.
Thank you, Harry, for always doing this with me.
Yeah, all right.
And when we return.
Gentlemen of the press, we came here this morning when we heard that according to what they call themselves, Nigerian police, are coming to take over the premises of Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission. And I had to come myself to find out why would such a thing happen. From what I heard, that DC operation brought them here to withdraw policemen that are already here protecting this place, so that new officers will take over the place. But I have to say this on a very strong note. We've been taking enough nonsense from this institution. Everybody is aware of the court judgment. And even the judgment as they call it, the ruling. Did the ruling specify anywhere that the election should not hold? He said, don't give voters register. What are we doing with it? Okay, police, don't provide security. Don't provide security. Is this the same thing as blocking the election? I don't know what the relationship between Inspector General of Police and one person who claims he has so much power in this state. I don't know the relationship, because it's beginning to go beyond the normal professional relationship. I said the government wrote a letter with the judgments that we have to him, and what he's acting on is what he called the federal government, the judgment he got from the Federal High Court. Even at that, if we should go by that, the judgment in the Federal High Court, did he say election should be bad? Lifu, that's that justice that gave that fraudulent judgment. Did he say no election? Rather, he technically said, don't provide. We don't need your security. We will provide our own security. After all, it happened in Anambra. Go away with your security. But this election must hold. If you like whatever it is you want to do, do it. The election will hold, result will be declared. People will be sworn in. I say it here. What kind of a country is it? And when it comes to the issue of River State, it becomes different. You're not ashamed of yourself. You call yourself Nigerian police.
Enough is enough.
Enough is enough. I will be here. In fact, if I go back and I hear anybody, I will come here. This is my property. And you don't have any power whatsoever to bar me from entering it.
Yes.
Just try it. That part of your history as a very wicked and fraudulent Nigerian police will include shooting Fubara.
Yes.
I think I've given you enough respect. Well, let me say to all Rivers indigents, everyone residing in River State, election will hold.
Yes.
Yes. Election will hold.
Yes.
Anything that wants to happen, let it happen.
We are here. Other states did. Yes. We are here.
I don't understand.
I'm not going anywhere. Let me fear anybody. We are here.
All other states did. So, everybody, just relax. Nothing is happening. We are ready. If we know that this is going to be the last fight, and we will take it to the end. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.